Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating real-time shift in global geopolitics. Right now, we're looking at how a massive, highly coordinated drone campaign is fundamentally altering the entire dynamic of the Russia-Ukraine war. We're going to dive into the recent reports, break down the tactical shifts on the ground, and explore the deep political ripples this is sending straight into Moscow.
1,000 kilometers. Let that number sink in for just a second. That is how far Ukrainian drones successfully navigated to strike deep inside Russian territory. To put that into perspective, this is absolutely not your standard cross-border skirmish. We're talking about a highly complex, long-range operation reaching all the way to the St. Petersburg region. It completely shatters the illusion of safety deep within Russia's borders, and honestly, it demonstrates a massive leap in Ukraine's technological reach.
Moving into Section 1, unprecedented strikes on Russia. This wasn't just a physical hit, it was a psychological shock to the system. I mean, it literally forced the governor of St. Petersburg to urge residents to stay indoors, something that hasn't happened since the war began.
Now, it's a textbook example of the fog of war. On one hand, Russia's defense ministry is claiming they intercepted a whopping 380 drones across western and southern Russia, supposedly shooting down 140 right near St. Petersburg. But then, on the flip side, President Zelensky reports these strikes actually found their marks, hitting highly strategic targets. We're talking Russian arsenals, a naval base, and a major oil depot in the Krasnodar region, which he framed as a direct response to Russian attacks. It's a clear battle for the narrative, right? But the sheer undeniable scale of this drone swarm, that speaks for itself.
That brings us to Section 2, shifting the battlefield momentum. And context here is everything, because these strikes definitely didn't happen in a vacuum. They hit right against the backdrop of the St. Petersburg Economic Forum. This is an event absolutely crucial to Vladimir Putin's image, designed to project total stability and economic resilience to the world. So, striking nearby, it severely disrupts that exact aura of control the Kremlin was desperately trying to project. We are over 4 years into this conflict now, and expert analysis from Maria Snegovaya at the Center for Strategic and International Studies reveals the balance is actually starting to tilt. Ukraine is driving this through 4 specific tactical shifts. First up, they're gaining a serious advantage in drone warfare, striking way further and deeper than anyone previously thought possible. Second, they're executing a systematic logistics blockade, basically choking off vital Russian supply lines. Third, and this is a huge milestone, for the first time since 2023, Ukraine is regaining more ground than it's losing. And finally, they are heavily capitalizing on very pronounced Russian manpower losses. It's really a systematic dismantling of Russia's forward momentum.
Which leads us to Section 3, tremors within the Kremlin. Because as you can imagine, Ukraine's growing capabilities are sparking significant political friction right inside Moscow. The harsh battlefield realities are finally piercing the political bubble.
Listen to this insight from the CSIS analysis. Pro-Kremlin analysts, the very people who have historically backed this war effort without question, are suddenly changing their tune. They are actively starting to debate if victory is even achievable at this point. In fact, some are shifting the narrative so radically they're claiming Russia has already won simply because they've managed to survive fighting the entire West. It's bizarre logic, but it really highlights the internal disarray as their original war goals slip further out of reach.
So, what's the real takeaway here? It's that Russia's very definition of winning has been drastically downgraded. That initial grand ambition of controlling the entirety of Ukraine, it's completely evaporated. The new, redefined victory condition being floated is merely securing the currently occupied Donbass region. They haven't just moved the goalposts, they've practically swapped out the whole stadium to accommodate the reality of Ukraine's resistance.
So with these mounting internal pressures, shifting goalposts, and undeniable economic strain, we naturally have to ask, is Vladimir Putin finally ready to sit down and negotiate an end to all of this?
Let's look at Section 4, the stalled negotiation table. And honestly, the answer is complex, but the path to diplomacy remains firmly blocked by the Russian president himself.
Just look at the timeline. Throughout all of last year, the U.S. administration made consistent efforts to bring Putin to the negotiation table, and they consistently hit a brick wall. More recently, Putin just outright rejected President Zelensky's proposal for face-to-face talks. He seems utterly convinced he can still wait this out and win. Meanwhile, the West is doing the exact opposite. They're doubling down. Just this past Sunday, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer hosted Zelensky, Emmanuel Macron, and Friedrich Merz in London for high-level talks focused entirely on sustaining support for Ukraine amid these escalating hostilities.
So what will it actually take? According to the analysis, the situation inside Russia simply isn't abysmal enough yet to force the Kremlin's hand. It's going to require a very specific formula of 3 escalating factors. 1. Applying even more crushing economic pressure. 2. Enforcing stricter, more comprehensive sanctions. And 3. Executing more of those highly successful, long-range Ukrainian strikes deep into Russian territory. It's that exact combination, hitting their economy, global trade, and domestic security all at once, that experts believe is required to push Kremlin elites towards serious negotiations.
Now we have to transition to our final section, bracing for Russian retaliation. Because as incredible as these tactical successes are, they come at a terrifyingly high cost. We really need to zoom out and look at the grim reality of the inevitable response. The brutal truth is that Ukraine's air defenses are running dangerously low. And it's a complicated web, impacted not just by the daily grind of this war, but by broader geopolitics, like Western resources having to be diverted to address conflicts involving Iran and its proxies. Because of this critical vulnerability, President Zelensky is urgently pleading for more Western air defense systems to protect his citizens from the fallout.
Because we all know how this plays out, right? History has shown a very dark, predictable pattern. Whenever Ukraine successfully hits Russian military targets, Russia retaliates directly against Ukrainian civilians. It's essentially state-sponsored terror, and we've already seen strikes on Kyiv and other cities ramp up significantly in recent weeks as Russia tries to exploit those depleting air defenses.
Which leaves us with an incredibly heavy, vital thought to reflect on as we wrap up this explainer. The mechanics of this war are clearly evolving, shifting deeper into Russian territory and putting real strain on the Kremlin. But as Ukraine forces this momentum onto Russian soil, we have to ask, what will be the ultimate human cost of shifting this geopolitical tide? It is a stark, heartbreaking reminder that behind all the shifting maps and strategic strikes, it's the civilians who continue to bear the absolute brutal weight of this conflict. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this today. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.